And welcome in to Jmore's JBiz Entrepreneur Series, featuring accomplished entrepreneurs from a variety of industries throughout the greater Baltimore area. I'm your host, Gary Stein, and this series is brought to you by our good friends at Nemphos Braue, offering big firm expertise and boutique service with lawyers experienced in all aspects of business and corporate law. Nemphos Braue focuses on building true strategic partnerships with their clients and strongly supports entrepreneurs and emerging businesses. Their subsidiary, Old Line Government Affairs, provides government relations, procurement, and state lobbying services with strong Maryland relationships and bipartisan access. Being an entrepreneur and at the helm of one company is enough of a daunting task. I'm sure most would agree. But what if I told you that today's guest, by my count at least, is the leader of 8 companies? He's on the board of 2 others and has been recognized by multiple organizations for his leadership and success in multiple industries. His company, Blue Ocean Realty, is a real estate investment and management company headquartered in Owings Mills, Maryland. Founded in 2004, today, Blue Ocean's portfolio consists of 23 properties and growing, valued at approximately $450 million and growing. And this portfolio consists of over 3,500,000 square feet of commercial space. Our guest is the CEO of Blue Ocean Realty, Jonathan Ehrenfeld. And Jonathan, welcome to Jmore's JBiz Entrepreneur Series. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Gary.
And the first question is, when do you sleep?
Sleep just fine. You know, if you love what you do, what do they say? You'll never work a day in your life, right?
Yeah, that is absolutely true. And that's probably a good place to start, the love of what you do. How did you acquire the love of what you do, and really the love and just drive to be an entrepreneur in the first place?
Well, I guess I started when I was very young. I used to sell soda cans in school, and I guess I just loved, I was 8 years old, and I used to sneak in soda cans that I bought from a local grocer. I used to pay, 10, 15 cents a can and sell them for 25 cents. It just felt great to, have that little taste of success. And from there, selling soda cans turned into selling small keychains and other toys, which grew into other things in my high school years. So I think it's always kind of a part of me, and everybody wants to do, I think, what ultimately they're good at. People don't really gravitate towards things that they're not necessarily good at. So I kind of felt comfortable in that space, and I've been trying to grow ever since.
So did you ever really have a job, like not an entrepreneurial type of endeavor, but work for somebody else?
Sure. Yeah. So I left high school early. I wanted to, make money. I wanted to work in the trades, in carpentry, electrical work, plumbing work, but I didn't really know where to begin. So I got started as a carpenter's apprentice when I was about 15 years old. And I worked there, earning, $3-4 an hour, and enjoyed that. I enjoyed kind of doing something, creating something, building something. But at a certain point, it was a pretty laborious task, and I felt like I wanted to continue working in the trades, but I didn't want to be, sanding furniture my whole life. So, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but I felt that I wanted to do something else. So I ultimately I lobbied some local electrical contractors to hire me as an apprentice when I was 16. I did that, and that's really where things started to click for me. And in being in the trades, learning the business, learning, how to manage job sites and how to manage, people. As I spent a couple of years being an apprentice, I was promoted to a foreman and a supervisor. And so that's kind of where I got my feet wet and the rubber met the road for me.
And again, I have you as the CEO, or at least a partner in 8 separate companies here in the Baltimore area, and we can talk about that. But in my opinion, maybe not in yours, we can find out. Kind of the headliner for me is the Blue Ocean Realty, and my question to you is, from that experience that you just talked about, your experience in the trades, back in your teens, maybe early 20s, how did you manage to get into the real estate business?
Sure. And it's a great question. Given my experience in the trades and kind of learning what I learned when I was a teenager and growing into an adult, I learned, hard work, organization, communication, marketing, many things that you just kind of learn from being on the job and working, just giving it your all. I took that knowledge, and I was fortunate enough to be approached by several investors, you might refer to them as, to start up a business in Baltimore. They had targeted Baltimore. I grew up in New York, and this all took place in New York, but they had said, "Hey, Jonathan, you've been working in the trades. You've been a carpenter, electrician. We have something that relates to that in Baltimore, and we want you to start up the business for us. We'll pay you $500 a week, and we'll give you 25% of the business." And I was, 18 years old, and I was earning a lot less than $500 a week. I was probably bringing home like $280, $290 a week. So for me, this was a big opportunity. And I said, sure, I'd love to go out and start this business, get some equity while I'm doing that. So I moved to Baltimore. I worked hard to get the business off the ground, and for a number of reasons, it just didn't take. So I went back to my investors and I said, hey, it's not working in the business that you set me up in, but I understand that there's an opportunity to buy a house inexpensively, renovate the house, and sell it. So can you provide $50,000 of seed capital so that I can do this work? I can essentially flip a house. And they said, okay. And they gave me the $50,000. I did the work. We sold it. We made a profit. I brought them another house, and they were loving the arrangement, making money on an investment that they really weren't doing a whole lot of work related to. So we did about 30 houses together. They brought in their friends, and they said, we got this person in Baltimore is flipping homes for us. You should invest also. And so a platform was essentially born, and we named it Blue Ocean at the time.
So are your original investors still with you?
They're not. In 2008 came along, they fell into the financial distress, and I was able to buy them out of the platform with cash that they needed at that time. And then from there, once I bought them out in 2008, at that time we had accumulated about 1,000 apartments, shifting from single family flips to more investment properties and expanding investor base. 2008 came along, they needed cash. I was able to put together enough savings to buy them out, and then I became the sole owner of the platform, at which point I was able to expedite the growth of the company, being 100% owner, bringing in other talented local individuals to really help us expand into commercial real estate, office buildings, industrial properties, and so on. And that was really, I think, if there was another kind of turning point in the Blue Ocean evolution, it happened, I would say, because of the financial crisis in 2008.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So let's talk about that, because the financial crisis was horrific for many, especially in the real estate industry, the banking industry. And you just said your partners actually wanted to get out in the 2000, because of the financial crisis, but you didn't. You ran towards it, basically. So you weren't afraid. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I think being in the trenches and looking back, I really didn't have I guess fear back then. It could have been just not being through something like that in the past. I just felt very grounded being on the front lines. I was renovating the apartments on the front lines. I was managing the staff. I was leasing the apartments. I felt very much, I think, in control. And whether or not I was in control, who knows the truth there? But I guess it just didn't, at that point, it didn't dawn on me. Sometimes I look back and I say, whoa, that was kind of aggressive, especially when the world was kind of coming apart at the seams. But, it didn't feel aggressive at the time. It felt more natural.
So is there any fear? If that didn't give you fear, right? Do you have fear in general?
Yeah, I think there's always fear. There's always fear present in business, but I try not to let it, take over. I think when it takes over one's life, and when it takes over one's existence, it's unhealthy. So I try to stay focused on things that I can control, and let everything else be, what it may. I mean, there are things, for example, that would impact my business today that I really don't have control over, such as legislation that takes place at the federal and state levels, or even at the county levels. There could be a law passed tomorrow that, can cut out, 20, 30, 40% of revenue. But you can't be distracted by it. I mean, there's the interest rate environment. Are rates going to go up? Are they going to go down?
Right.
These things will impact all of us, but because we can't control it, we just have to show up every day, do the best we can, put forth our best efforts. And generally, I've found over almost 20 years that good things will happen.
Our guest is Jonathan Ehrenfeld. He's the CEO of Blue Ocean Realty and 7 other companies. And a reminder that our Enterprise series from JBiz is brought to you by Nemphos Braue, offering big firm expertise and boutique service with lawyers experienced in all aspects of business and corporate law. Nemphos Braue focuses on building true strategic partnerships with their clients and strongly supports entrepreneurs and emerging businesses. Their subsidiary, Old Line Government Affairs, provides government relations, procurement, state lobbying services with strong Maryland relationships and bipartisan access. So Jonathan, we mentioned the fact that not only with Blue Ocean Realty, but 7 other companies, 8 total, including Atlantic Mechanical, which makes sense after you told us your story, Northwest Refuse Service, Spire Sports Complex, which I'm particularly interested in. I want to ask you about that. The DoubleTree by Hilton, you are the new owner of that. Congratulations. And a lot of construction going on that property, which we can talk about. Ace Environmental, Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, Innovative Environmental Technologies. Are they all intertwined? Do they all end up doing business with one another? Is there a rhyme and a reason there?
Yeah, some of them came about because of connections with others, but generally speaking, I really try to maintain healthy individuality of each business, where each business can support itself and is not overly dependent on any other business. So for example, no one business provides more than 5% of revenue to the other business. They're all kind of independent, and I would say, 95% or more of their revenue is through arm's length business that they do with the business community. So I would say that they do help each other, but not in a way that would be potentially hurtful if another one was not successful.
How do you manage your time?
So it really depends on which business needs the time. I mean, there are certain businesses that require more time than others at different times of the year. There are certain businesses that require more time when they're getting started up, when they're first acquired, when they're going through some kind of recapitalization. So it's really about responding to the needs of the individual businesses and evaluating each business needs every week or every 2 weeks to say, what does this business really need today? And just as important, when a business doesn't need your help, that you stay away from it. You don't interfere. You let it kind of blossom and do its thing. So you could have a 1 week where I'm spending 50% of my time on Spire. You could have another week where I'm spending 75% of my time on Blue Ocean, and another week where I'm spending 30 or 40% on Ace. If you stack those percentages on top of each other, obviously you're going to be beyond 100% capacity. But the key is to keep each business moving at its pace, the way it needs to move. And I always like to say consistency is key. So making sure that they are performing consistently with or without your help, that's very important.
By nature, is it easy for you to delegate?
It wasn't in the beginning. I would say, 20 years ago when I first really entered into business, I still don't know much. I still don't know, I don't know so much. There's just so much that I still have to learn. But I would say 20 years ago, obviously there was much more that I didn't know. And so experience has taught me, and my coach, I have a leadership coach. His name is Andy Cohen. Andy Cohen, who lives in Reisterstown as well, he has been my leadership coach for around 10 years now. And I've been learning under him session after session how to improve leadership skills, because it's something that, I believe has to be learned, and not just from experience. So it used to be that I would be very nervous about a task that needed to get done, and I would stay on top of it and email the person 3 times and lean over their shoulder. And what time has taught me, and what my coach has taught me, is that, that's actually has the opposite effect. You're hurting yourself. You're not by not trusting the other person, by not kind of giving them the space to perform and to thrive and to blossom. So, I think that to answer your question, it hasn't always been easy. It's still not easy, but I try to learn every day and try to get better.
May I ask, are you at ease in front of large groups of people?
It depends how many shots I've had beforehand. Generally speaking, I try to just be myself, and usually everything falls into place. So I would say I'm generally at ease.
How has being an entrepreneur affected your family life?
So it's been a balance. Like most entrepreneurs, we love what we do so much. There are times that we can forget, our priorities and what's most important. I'm married. I have three beautiful daughters, and oftentimes that I am not in balance with priorities. I am, focused on work or focused on the business needs and not present enough at home. So that's a constant work in progress for me. It's something that I've been working on over the last, 15 plus years, and it's always a work in progress. I suspect it will continue to be. Sure.
What motivates you in general?
I think making an impact motivates me. In the work that I do through these businesses, I find that there's a huge opportunity for impact, whether it be in the lives of our customers, the lives of our residents, our tenants. We're essentially the custodian for $500 million of real estate in the state of Maryland. I mean, you're touching a lot of people's lives through the maintenance that you're providing, through the landscaping, through the communication, through capital improvement projects. There's so many things that you're doing that are affecting tens of thousands of people. That to me is exciting. That opportunity, that responsibility is exciting, to come to work every day and know that you have the opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. We have 400 people employed at our companies. So there's another opportunity, for what kind of benefits are we providing for our team members? Can we do more? Have we promoted within? Are we providing the tools to our team members to be successful? Are we recognizing their success? I mean, these are all opportunities. We don't do all of them perfectly. In fact, I would say that many times, unfortunately, we fail in our responsibility and obligation. But there's a certain love, there's a certain excitement, there's a certain energy that comes from carrying this torch for our customers, tenants, residents, and team members that really, I think for me personally is very fulfilling.
Specifically for Blue Ocean Realty, the Pikesville Hilton, or it used to be called the Pikesville Hilton, was kind of an iconic building in the Pikesville, Baltimore area, just off of Beltway exit 21, Reisterstown Road. You bought that. I believe it's a DoubleTree now, if I'm not mistaken. A lot of construction is going on in what used to be the parking lot. What's the vision? What's going on there?
So you're right, Gary. That property is really iconic in a lot of ways. So many folks who grew up in and around this area have memories of spending time at the hotel, especially when it first opened in the 70s. What's happened since the 70s has really been not much, not a whole lot. It kind of just sat there, and as time passed and it's aged, there's been less and less interest and activity there. So we're now, 50 years into its existence, and it needs kind of a reboot, a refresh, a kind of redevelopment, if you will. When we purchased the property a few years ago, we immediately thought that there was a lot of potential, not only in renovating the hotel, but expanding the banquets and events facility. So envisioning 1,000 people coming there to gather. Obviously, we didn't think that COVID would hit in 2019, but we still think that this is a major gathering space. You've got 250,000 cars a day passing by, 200,000 on 695, another 50,000 on Reisterstown Road. So this is kind of like a hub for Baltimore County. And we said this has to be a gathering place. So we immediately overhauled the banquets facility. We've got one of the biggest events and conference centers around. We also identified that the front of the property should really serve a significant retail need in the community. Mm-hmm. So we set out to build 4 retail pads out front. We're going to have a new drive-through bank that's going to be there. That will allow us to demolish the office building, and then we're expecting to have several other national tenants lining the front of Reisterstown Road to provide services and product by the thousands each day. So it's an exciting time. I would expect that within about 12 months, we'll see that project really come to life.
There's also a tennis club, and I personally play pickleball in that facility. Is that going to remain?
Yeah, that'll be there. We recently spent about $1 million renovating the interior. So, new locker rooms, showers, new fitness equipment, fitness facilities. So we're really, poured in a significant amount of capital there, kind of refreshing that space. And we've seen, since completing the renovation, despite COVID, we've seen a very large uptick in interest. Right now is mostly on the tennis, and now we're starting to see on the fitness side as well as people get vaccinated.
Speaking of sports and tennis, and I'm looking down the list of your companies here, but I'm interested to know about your involvement with the Spire Sports Complex. I did a little research on them, and you're obviously building out here in the Baltimore area. Talk to us a little bit about that, what it is, and why you're involved.
So the Spire Institute and Academy in Geneva, Ohio, is a project that we're doing that's very near and dear to me. It has, like, as I mentioned, the impact component that gets me going every day is tremendous there. It's the largest sports complex in North America at 800,000 square feet. It's on a campus of 500 acres, just about 45 minutes east of Cleveland. And we're very fortunate there that we're able to host sports programming and championships, meets, tournaments, leagues from folks visiting from all over the country. They're come to Cleveland to spend time in our facility there. So we have millions of visitors coming through Spire, playing sports, getting together, having teams and families come together and just really enjoying a world-class sports facility. The vision there is to build a world-class sports academy for high school and postgraduate kids who are looking to specialize in a specific sport or major. And so within 7 to 10 years, we're expecting to have 700 full-time students on campus, in addition to all the sports and events that we're doing there. So it's very exciting to see what's developing at Spire in Geneva. And we're looking to ultimately bring some of that to Baltimore here in some of our facilities, which might be what people have seen and read about recently.
Sure. So is this, Jonathan, along the lines of what the IMG Academy is doing in Florida? Is it the same type of thing?
Absolutely. So the IMG Academy in Florida is a sports academy for high school kids. They've got 1,300 students, and they do a really good job developing youth in the sports majors. We're looking to be the first real competitor to IMG. They haven't really experienced any competition, and so we're looking to provide that competition for them.
How did you gravitate towards this in the first place?
Well, real estate, getting back to my core trade in real estate, it's become more and more popular for investment dollars in the last 10 to 20 years. And as more money has flowed into investment real estate, the opportunity for us to go out and acquire large quantities of real estate has really been minimized because there's so much competition. And so what I like to do is I like to try to venture out and find other things to do in the real estate space, but not core real estate. So multifamily, industrial real estate is very competitive. To find a deal that works financially can be extremely challenging. So what I did was I kind of peeled back some of the layers. I said, what other kinds of real estate can I acquire that can, with my investors, that makes sense, that can make a return, but we don't have to pay huge sums of money to get in. And one of the things that came back was sports campuses that are really just not in favor right now. So you can buy it for what is a relatively low valuation, invest in it, build a business in it, and hopefully will be a good return at the end of the day.
And are you looking to expand your real estate footprint in other parts of the country? I know you've got a large presence here in Baltimore, obviously, Maryland.
Yeah, we are. We do have one property that we're in the process of acquiring in the Pittsburgh area. So going into Pennsylvania there, we came close on another opportunity in Virginia and North Carolina. So we are definitely looking, as the market again is very competitive. In order to really acquire more properties, you have to start to expand out. It would be nice if we just had enough here in Maryland, but unfortunately or fortunately, there's a lot of interest in Maryland real estate especially. And so we want to make sure that we're not extending ourselves too much to compete with others. We rather go to a place where there's a little less competition and and expand there.
A couple final questions. The time has flown by, Jonathan, I must say. Do you think high schools and colleges do enough to inspire entrepreneurship from young people?
I think I don't think that there's enough, I think, emphasis on that in the high school and college levels. I do think there are teachers and professors that go out of their way to really inspire their students, and, God bless all of them. But I do think that, these institutions really should offer a little bit more of an entrepreneurial spirit in terms of, going out, building something for yourself. It's okay to, go to college. It's okay to work for somebody else. There's nothing wrong with that. It can be part of the American dream, certainly. But, it should also be known that that's not the only option. It's not, you don't have to be an accountant. You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to be a lawyer. There are other means of supporting your family, of accomplishing your dreams, of buying a vacation home. You can do other things, and here's what they are. I don't recall anybody pulling me aside and saying, hey, here's a path that you can go on. My whole upbringing was like, are you gonna be a doctor? You're gonna be a lawyer. What's it gonna be? I didn't even finish high school, so.
So out of curiosity then, at Spire Sports Complex, will you offer entrepreneurship as one of the curriculum opportunities for young people?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that that's one of our major focuses is helping the individual become an individual of their choosing, not to send them down a path that somebody else carved. It's about learning. One of the majors that we're going to be offering is drones and robotics, and that's just piloting drones, building drones, creating robots. A heavy emphasis on engineering. We've also acquired a nearby airport so we can teach kids, how to fly planes and other such things. So it's about changing, the model where, you put kids down a certain lane and you say, you got to stay in this lane. It's more about, getting their creative juices flowing, getting them to think outside the box, getting them to develop and to kind of chart their own path, if you will.
So you may have just answered the final question, and that was going to be, what would you say to a person who came to you, a young person, or anyone who came to you that wanted to become an entrepreneur, that really didn't know where to start, but sees a successful person and wants to glean something from them? What would be a word of advice?
What I try to do with younger folks who come to me is say, what do you love doing? You really have to find your love, because that's where I think the success comes in. If you don't love what you're doing, it's going to be very challenging to be successful. So I really try to stress, that they forget about the money. The money will come. What do you love to do? If you find something you love to do, you'll be successful. So that's really the first and last thing that I like to talk about with younger folks.
Sounds good. Jonathan, it's been a pleasure, actually. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Gary. Best of luck.
Yeah. And that'll do it for today. I'm your host, Gary Stein. Thank you for joining us. Stay well. We'll meet again shortly for another installment of Jmore's JBiz Entrepreneur Series, sponsored by our good friends at Nemphos Braue. Learn more about what Nemphos Braue can do for you in areas of corporate business, startup, and entrepreneurial law, and their extensive experience in the areas of intellectual property, mergers, acquisitions, and general counsel practices. For more information, go to nemphosbraue.com. Until next time, stay positive. We'll see you on the Jmore JBiz Entrepreneur Series.